Mankind is dead. Blood is fuel. Hell is full. This is Ultrakill. Ultrakill is a game that has technically been out for a pretty long time now. And I say technically because the game isn't actually done yet. Ultrakill is an early access boomer shooter title that has been on Steam for a while now, but the biggest draw to Ultrakill is its combat system. And you may be wondering why me, out of everyone, is deciding to talk about this game with you guys today. Especially since the majority of what I do is Nintendo content, Nintendo Switch content. Well, one is I'm hoping to eventually, talk about gaming interests of mine in general. I don't want to stay a Nintendo channel forever. I'm hoping to eventually expand and, talk about other things, but also because I'm just in general a very big fan of boomer shooters, and Ultrakill is a game that I feel like should be talked about if you are interested in these kind of games. Ultrakill in of itself is one of the best boomer shooters you can play out there, and for very good reasons. Now mind you, it's not perfect and it's not even finished. There's still a lot to be done with this game. There's still a lot of progress to be made for this game to be, fully completed. The folks over at New Blood have also released games like Dusk onto the Nintendo Switch platform, and I believe there's also plans for a Medieval to also be released on Nintendo Switch platforms. So it only, seems possible to me that once Ultrakill is finally completed and done, that we might just see Ultrakill on Nintendo Switch platforms as well, and get support like gyro and that sort of thing. Now you might be wondering what exactly makes Ultrakill so good. Now anyone who knows my personal taste in video games is that I consider Doom Eternal to be my favorite of these kinds of shooters. There's also a bunch of other shooters out there that are extremely well made and good. Anything from id Software is practically gold into my mind. Maybe other than Doom 3, but I don't care what anyone says, Doom 3 is still a good game. It's still a really good game, so whatever, you can disagree on that if you feel like it, I don't care. Ultrakill is just a game that essentially the main developers said, hey, what if I mixed elements of Devil May Cry and Quake? Which is really telling when you look at the actual website for Ultrakill and realize that the name of the website is devilmayquake.com. So it's pretty obvious that these are where the inspirations come from for Ultrakill. And Ultrakill just has a combat system that is extremely well done. It's almost like they succeeded. And that sounds weird because usually I'm used to, hearing, game journalists and all these kind of people kind of just take different games and kind of just fuse them together to try to describe what game they're talking about. But in the case of Ultrakill, not only is it successful, it's probably one of the best combat systems any first-person shooter has ever seen. The only one that I could say is comparable is Doom Eternal. Again, a game that is one of my favorites, and I'm most likely going to be holding some kind of bias for. Ultrakill's options, basically, as of now, anyways, at the time of this recording, you have a pistol with a charge shot, a pistol that actually allows you to do some pretty interesting techs where you can throw a coin in the air. Now, me personally, I am not skillful enough to be able to utilize this coin effectively, as well as other people have. But you can easily, go on YouTube and check out all the techs that you can do with Ultrakill's coin flip thing. It's pretty crazy, but there's a coin flip thing. There's a shotgun with a grenade launcher. There's this sort of drill gun that if you use it, it will give you a ton of health, which is something that I typically used a lot in my first ever playthrough of Ultrakill. Did I also mention in Ultrakill you can also punch bullets? You can punch bullets and punch them back at the person who shot you with it? That's so dope. There's a lot of real good weapon design. I do wish there was more weapons, but the good thing about Ultrakill is that if you go by the UI and the menus that are available for these upgrade paths, you can see that there is a sort of four, I want to say, versions of each weapon. So while there isn't as many weapons as there would be in a typical other boomer shooter, it does seem like there's going to be even more variations that will make up for the fact that there isn't as many weapons. If you are someone who enjoys playing anything like Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein, Unreal, any of these kind of like old school boomer shooter types. There's a few others out there like Serious Sam, Ion Fury, anything from New Blood is also fantastic, and I highly recommend checking out. As of now, knowing my audience on YouTube, the majority of you guys are going to be playing from a Nintendo Switch. So as of right now, Dusk is available. It is another boomer shooter inspired game that is extremely well done as well. I highly recommend checking that out. And supporting New Blood. They're also going to be releasing a Medieval in the future. Just check it out. It's all good stuff. I know if Dave from New Blood is watching this, I know you have your whole "we hate money" thing, but I'm going to try to get some people to give you some money. I'm just going to be real and say that much. And, in case you guys ever want to throw some codes at me, that'd be dope. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is Ultrakill about? What is the story? Now, the story is something that a lot of boomer shooters typically have in the background. It wasn't until Half-Life came around where, first-person shooter stories started taking more of like a focus. Games typically just focused on, traversing through these levels, collecting keys, opening doors, and making it to the end of the level. That's what games were for a while with Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, and, a lot of other boomer shooters that would come down the line like Duke Nukem. They kind of just focused on this primary function, this primary formula for how to, design a first-person shooter at the time. It wasn't until Half-Life where that all kind of changed. So in this case, Ultrakill is no different. Ultrakill and many of these other indie boomer shooter inspired games go back to that old formula of, going through labyrinths, keys, and exploration, that sort of thing. Now, Ultrakill doesn't focus so much on the exploration, I've noticed, where it's not like a Medieval, where a Medieval has a very big focus on, level design, exploration, and secrets, and that kind of thing. While Ultrakill does have it, it feels like the game is primarily focused on its extremely deep combat system, which makes up for the fact that the exploration isn't as focused on. So, if you're someone who's much more into that sort of thing, a Medieval is really great for that. Dusk is also pretty good for that. Ultrakill just focuses more on the combat, but I still highly recommend checking it out if you're into it at all. So, because of that, the story of Ultrakill isn't really that much in your face. It doesn't really become more apparent that there even is a story going on until you get to a certain point in the game where a certain boss fight happens and you realize like, oh shit, there's more going on than I realized. But to give you guys a very brief synopsis of what's going on, you are essentially a robot who is going down the 9 circles of hell in the style of the Divine Comedy, or Dante's Inferno, as most would know, I guess as. So all of the levels are pretty much structured after, limbo, lust, greed, wrath, like all these the 9 circles. And there's also a kind of story with like, the angels and whatnot and things going on there that will also, really ramp things up once you get to those points. Like I said, the game is not done yet. So it's going to be a long time before we see Ultrakill arrive on other platforms. The game still has to be finished first. And because of that, there's also no real ending to the game. Like if you play it right now on Steam, you're going to notice that the game ends pretty early. Like there's not a real actual ending. And the developers are still, to this day, pumping out content, pumping out updates after updates to pretty much ensure that this game is completed. That's kind of all I have for you guys. This game is probably one of the best boomer shooters to, I guess, technically release in a long time. And as of now, and mind you, I'm not, looking at a tier list or anything of the sort of all my favorite boomer shooters, but I want to say this is probably up there and at least my top 5. It's really good, and who knows? It might even go higher than that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have much to say on that right now. But let me know how you guys feel about Ultrakill down below. Will you support New Blood if they put Ultrakill on the Nintendo Switch? If not, let me know why. If so, let me know what you think about the game. If it looks dope as fuck or not. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Shifty, yeah, shifty. Wanna be the #1 gamer? Come and get me. It'd be dope if you you subscribe, could you like the vid, please? Take your time, you don't gotta do it swiftly. Shifty, shifty. Wanna be the #1 gamer, come and get